everybody, and welcome back to Forever Conscious Research channel. Hope you're doing well this morning, or whatever time of day it may be for you. Chain of Mind Silence says, stop beating around the Wayne Bush and let's get this going, FC. All right, so we are going to... Did I already say welcome? I didn't. Wow, brain fart if I did. Welcome back to Forever Conscious Research channel. Hope you're doing well. So we're going to get into some near-death experiences tonight of children. I got a few saved, and actually a bunch saved from in my hard drive. So this will be episode 1. It'll be an ongoing series. I don't know when I'll get to episode 2, but hopefully in the next few weeks, few months. Got a busy schedule ahead, so all right. Let's dive right into it. Just to give you kind of an idea as to how we're approaching this tonight. The first, I'd say a little under 10 minutes is a packaged part of a, I guess like a documentary. And then I have the full unedited testimony of each of the children in the documentary. But it's kind of nice. Looked like it was okay for copyright, so I figured, we'll play a little bit of that, or we'll play through all that. I'll put in a little commentary, and then we'll listen to their full testimony and they'll show all their drawings and stuff. It's really interesting. So let's dive right into it. Alrighty, here we go. All set. All right. Just so you know, when we do get to the testimony part, the audio level is a little off. I tried to clean them up, but they're still going to, the interviewer is going to sound a little high. Actually, it's researcher Dr. Melvin Morse. So just to warn you, it should be okay, but I would suggest wearing headphones because he doesn't have a mic on the children, and it's a little distant for some of it. So, all right, but the first segment, it's all good. So let's dive right into it. Here we go.
Jesse Law.
Oh. Well, at least I was trying to. Why isn't it appearing? What the heck?
Had a bad.
Why isn't this appearing? That is strange. Hold on. Oh, wow. What in the hell? Alright, hold on. Just gotta reopen it, I guess. Okay. There we go. Sorry about that. Always something.
Thought Jessie Lott had a bad cold until her liver began to fail. She went into a coma. Her brain pressure reached 100 and her heart stopped. For 20 minutes, she was gone. And then she came back. An ordinary emergency, really. Except for one thing.
When my heart stopped, I just found some the grandma, and she passed away like a year ago.
What did she look like?
Well, she had like a white robe on, and she looked exactly how she did when she died.
Okay, so she's got a white robe on. We see the robes all the time in NDE'S, and she looked like she did before she died. Now, what's interesting is when you compare it to a lot of adults, it's kind of the reverse. Normally, it'll be like a family member. It could be grandma, it could be mom, dad, whoever, and they look like a lot younger, very vibrant, etc. But her memory of her grandmother is of that moment. So the Matrix and her memory bank provide that to her.
What did she look like?
Well, she had like a white robe on, And she looked exactly how she did when she died.
I've interviewed dozens and dozens and dozens of children who have had these experiences. It is
Pediatrician Dr. Melvin Morse at the Seattle Children's Hospital has conducted by far the most in-depth research into children's near-death experiences. His documentation includes extensive on-camera interviews with children, such as Jessie Lott.
And what did you think about that, your grandma being there?
I was just so shocked. I didn't, I don't know. Just like she was right there and I was right here, and I can't move. She's just sitting there. It's like she's frozen. I was sort of scared, but sort of happy to see her. That's all I knew. That she was sitting in a chair. She was sitting frozen, and she was fine.
She was sitting there, frozen, and smiling. Frozen. Sounds like almost like a Matrix breakdown. She's frozen. Very, very odd. Heard of some of this before, but it's interesting.
I was sort of scared, but sort of happy to see her.
Scared but
That's all I
happy.
knew. That she was sitting in a chair. She was sitting frozen, and she was fine. I don't know where I went, but I went somewhere.
She's just a kid with no axe to grind, no knowledge of the concept of the near-death experience. In her case, hardly any religion in her upbringing at all.
That's key. Hardly any religion in her upbringing at all.
Just a kid who remembers what she experienced. Hers is just one of the stories Tom Harper, Rhodes Scholar, theologian, and journalist, encountered when he was researching his bestseller, Life After Death.
Just a kid. But do children, and particularly those who have had no special indoctrination in religious ideas, have something unique to tell us about what happens after death?
Yeah, they are the ones that are interesting. They're more toned down near-death experiences. A, because they're children and they don't have as much life experience yet, which she'll get into. And that's a very common data point to keep in mind. And, obviously the younger they are, the less prone they are to indoctrination. So this attachments and various belief systems that they carry around are a lot less, if not pretty much, nothing, just being kids.
Have something unique to tell us about what happens after death. Are their experiences different? Or do they have the same experiences as adults, but see them differently? Are they better reporters because of their lack of sophistication? In this program, we will look at many examples of children's testimony.
Children have simple and pure experiences. They use words like neat or weird, which are very, very real feelings. That the typical child's near-death experience, they go, "Wow, I thought I was floating out of my body, and I knew I was dead, but I was still alive." And there's a genuine quality of mystery about it. How could such a thing be really happening to them? They're often frightened by the experience. Many of them wonder how they're going to get back in their body. Since it's so far out of the realm of anything they expected, they frequently say it was scary. That's not an unusual experience at all. And mostly I'm impressed by how fragmentary the experiences are. They usually just tell a teeny little fragment of something that has clearly struck them.
A teeny little fragment of something that struck them. Now, he's saying they're fragmented, which, what does that usually mean? I mean, we are talking about children, but so they're, it's different, but we're also probably dealing with the memory wipe. Let's just be honest. Certain segments of what they're going through or what they've gone through are missing. Just like we see in adult NDE'S. Why would it be any different? Children's NDE'S mold to you know, like we were just saying, belief system, surroundings, whether they've been indoctrinated or not, maybe not as much indoctrination, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
A teeny little fragment of something that has clearly struck them.
Because the huge noodle was just like a tunnel. It went straight, and it didn't have anything in your way. It wasn't like a spiral noodle, so it's either a tunnel or a noodle, and it was just a rainbow.
Horrendous crash on a snowy mountain bridge plunged 3-year-old Chris Eggleston into a freezing lake.
Was that scary?
Yeah, and our mom yelled to take our seatbelts off.
Now, I don't mean to keep interrupting, but how this all pans out, how you're going to hear it, and how they're saved. It's one of those scenarios that, oh, they just happen to be there, but give it what you will. There's always these kind of convenient factors with the ones like this where they're, like we've seen with car accidents and ones that don't really involve like a terminal illness, I guess we should say.
Plunged 3-year-old Chris Eggleston into a freezing lake.
Was that scary?
Yeah, and our mom yelled to take our seatbelts off. But when we crashed, behind us was a car with 6 children in it. He was the person who saved my life. Who saw us go around the curve. When he came around the curve, he didn't see us anymore. So he took his flashlight and looked down off the bridge, and he could see us.
Keep in mind, remember, this is ski patrol. They're trained to handle emergencies, and they happen to be there.
So he took his flashlight and looked down off the bridge, and he could see us, could see our car. So he had to dive like 5 or 6 times to get down far enough to get to it. And during all that time, I was having a near-death experience.
Chris Eggleston.
I'm sorry to interrupt again, but it has to be said that, again, it's ski patrol. They're trained in medical, how to save people, or at least, help people until emergency services come. But we're also dealing with cold weather, winter weather, and they're, diving in 6 times in cold water. Just got to be said.
And during all that time, I was having a near-death experience.
Chris Eggleston had, again, a typical child's near-death experience, in the sense that it's brief, fragmentary, difficult to comprehend, both for us and for him.
I started falling through this noodle. It was coming closer and closer. And I went inside it, and it was all like a rainbow.
Okay, so he's describing a noodle, and it's coming closer and closer. So, if you ever run into the tunnel, you start to see it, you have time to get yourself out of it and set your intention properly. And we see this with a lot of NDE'S. They go through the tunnel, to reach the light. It's the light you've really got to be concerned about. You really should be involving yourself with the tunnel. But if you find yourself in the tunnel, set your intention immediately to get out.
for us and for him.
I started falling through this noodle. It was coming closer and closer. And I went inside it, and it was all like a rainbow. And then at the end, there was a goal, smaller, just two smaller tunnels that would lead to like an animal heaven or him.
And he was in a car, which filled up with water, and he nearly drowned. He said suddenly everything went blank. He was then out of his body, surprised to be there, felt that eventually he could learn to swim or somehow move himself in the air. Said that he went to a place that he called the human heaven and made some sort of choice to return to his body. But interestingly enough, he says that he was in a huge noodle until he realized that noodles don't have rainbows in them, so it must have been some sort of tunnel.
Children's experiences have the common features of tunnels, lights, out-of-body experiences, all of which I think we can understand in brain terms. What they don't have is elaborated visions of the kind that adults have. They do not have long life reviews, that they haven't had a long life. Quite often they see living people as well as dead ones. They see their pets. They see the people who matter to them in a different way from adults. We also...
Yeah, that's a key takeaway right there. I know we've only gone over a few NDEs with adults where they see a living loved one. It's almost always deceased. With children, it's more likely to happen. But with adults, it's like, we're talking very rare. I haven't run across many. They're out there, but it's more like an anomaly.
Quite often they see living people as well as dead ones. They see their pets. They see the people who matter to them in a different way from adults. We also mustn't forget that many children, particularly in America where most of these stories come from, are exposed to a lot of religious propaganda early in their life. They hear about heaven and hell and pearly gates and angels and so on. And in fact, some of the angels children report are classic sort of painted angels that you might get in a religious shop, wings and halos and the whole works. So I think a lot of the details come from children's expectations, just as they do with adults.
And then I didn't know which was which, so I started floating down towards the animal line. Then I ran into this humongous flower. And then inside I found a honeybee that was like as big as I was now. I knew he liked me because he gave me some bread.
His parents had...
So talk about, it's like he's going down the tunnel. And the way he's kind of describing it, it's like, oh, well, there's like a human area and an animal or pet area. And he kind of veered off into, I guess we can say, the wrong area. Ends up getting sucked up into this huge flower, and there's a bee inside of it, and the bee gives him bread. So it's very, very interesting.
And then inside I found a honeybee that was like as big as I was now. I knew he liked me because he gave me some bread.
I knew he liked me because he gave me some bread. So there's a relationship forming between them, a bond, a trust, which that's what happens, right? That's what happens in near-death experiences. There's a bond of trust and usually a love bond.
I knew he liked me because he gave me some bread.
And I'm sorry, one more thing. He's offered bread, takes it. There is first off, he's going through the tunnel, but he's consenting to take the bread. Make of that what you will, just something to think about.
His parents had no religious beliefs whatsoever. He doesn't encounter something that he thought was God. His heaven is a very commonplace description of heaven in that it was a golden castle with pearly gates, the kind of thing that I think virtually every child is exposed to. He says he had a bumblebee as a helper that assisted him with the experience. In other words, I think a more religious child typically describes guardian angels as assisting them with the experience. In his case, it was a bumblebee, a very non-religious image in keeping with his very non-religious background.
You nailed it right there. I mean, that's he's not affected yet by belief systems that's tainted him. So he's lucky in that aspect. But what does the Matrix have? It has, a nice flower, beautiful scenery, this tunnel, and then a bumblebee that gives him bread. So, it's a kind gesture for a child, makes them feel calm and relaxes the whole situation, the whole experience, while it's working on getting him back to Earth.
In his case, it was a bumblebee, a very non-religious image in keeping with his very non-religious background. The one message I've learned from children's near-death experiences is that we die the life we live.
Yep.
So, it seems we die the life we live. The same images that are comforting to you in life are comforting in death.
How did that make you feel?
I was sort of scared, but sort of happy to see her.
You were happy to see her. And then what happened?
One of the most interesting things about watching the interview with Jessie Lott is the fragmentary nature of her experience. She's obviously struggling with something very profound that's happened to her, and yet she herself doesn't understand it. She has a long memory gap to the very moment her heart stopped beating. And that's when she had the image that her grandmother was sitting there at the bedside. I was just so shocked to see her. She has the sensation she went somewhere else, and then she was back. And then following this tiny little memory, which is local.
What is that, Hillary Clinton?
Following this tiny little memory, which is localized to the point of her near death, she then has another long memory gap. She doesn't tell us a coherent story. She doesn't fill in every memory gap. She doesn't have a logical or rational explanation for the puzzling things that happened to her. Instead, she simply tells us what she saw and how profoundly affected she was by it.
All right, so that is going to wrap up the first segment. So that's just from the documentary. Feel free to search it for yourself. It's got Dr. Raymond Moody in it as well, if I recall. Been a while since I've seen it. So let's get into the girl's experience. Just mute this really quick. Sorry guys, don't want to get a copyright strike here. Just one moment. Okay, we're good. Here we go. So continuing. Let's put a screen here. Okay, so we got that. Just for editing purposes if necessary. All right. Oh.
And how old are you?
There we
11.
go.
You're 11.
Mm-hmm.
When's your birthday?
September 24th.
It's September 24th. Now, tell me everybody in your family. What do you have it all apart in?
do something like that. But that's okay.
Yeah, let's keep going.
We're at the crucial part now. Your brothers and sisters. No, tell me. So, how many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have 2 brothers and I have no sisters.
No sisters. Oh, aren't you lucky? So you have 2 brothers, and they're older than you.
One's older and one's younger.
One's older and one's younger.
Middle child.
So you're the middle child, yeah. So you have one that teases you, and then one you can pick on and tease. Is that right?
Sort of.
Sort of.
Yeah.
How old is your youngest brother?
He's 4.
He's 4 years old. And then your older brother?
He's 14.
He's 14.
10 years apart.
Do you have any pets?
We have a cat.
Oh, you have a cat. What's your cat's name?
Cuddles. She's my cat. My brother had a cat, but it died.
It died. Yeah, that's sad. Now, tell me a little bit about what happened to you when you were in the hospital.
When I was in the hospital, my liver got filled up with fats and stuff like that, and I had my heart stopped on a day, and I saw my grandma in a wooden chair, and she was just looking at me and smiling at me, and it was really a good feeling to see her. And
it was a good feeling to see her. Now, tell me a little bit more about when you got sick. Tell me more about that. What do you remember about that time?
I remember I remember hearing doctors telling people what to get for me. And
what do you even remember before that? Go back to the first thing you remember. Like, were you in your house when you got sick, or where were you?
First time that I got sick.
When you came to Dr. German's office.
I don't remember when I came to Dr. German's office at all.
You don't remember coming to Dr. German's office at all? What do you remember before that, then? What's the first thing that you remember?
The first thing I remember is that I was in my room and I felt sick and all this. I said, "Mom, will you go get me a drink of water?" And then a couple minutes after, I was saying, "Oh, Mom, my head hurts." And then a couple minutes after, I'd say something else. And then my mom told me to go to sleep. And then the next morning, I don't remember anything that happened after that.
And you don't happen to remember anything. And then other than seeing your grandma, what's the next thing you remember then?
The next thing that I remember.
Like did you wake up at the hospital, or did you wake up back home again, or?
After, I saw my grandma, well, I was in the hospital and I heard these doctors saying, "Hurry, I think she's coming back," and they had all these people around me, and they were big equipment things and just lots of...
And lots of things like that. And then what do you remember?
Then I couldn't see anything, but I could hear the people talking, and I think I was being fed, and I heard my uncle telling my mom that she was pushing a popsicle down my throat too hard.
That she was putting a popsicle down your throat too hard. Yeah.
I could hear him talking about me,
and you could hear him talking about you.
But I couldn't see him, and I didn't know what was going on or anything.
And why did your heart stop beating?
Because I really don't know.
You don't really remember that part. Okay, so let me make sure I understand this then.
Hold on.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so let me make sure.
By the way, the camera guys act like total idiots during this whole thing, or the other one. I don't remember. I think it was this one. It's just there's children around and stuff. Leave the kids alone. Hey, we see 33 and Silent Hunter. Hope you're doing well tonight. And I apologize for the other night, my friend. I did not know that whole scenario to you. Sorry you went through that.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand this then.
Hold on.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand this. That you remember being at home and feeling sick. And then you don't remember being at Dr. German's office. And do you remember actually going to the hospital? Like, do you remember being in an ambulance or anything like that?
No, but I don't remember any of that.
You don't remember any of that. So then what's the very next thing that you remember after that?
After being at the hospital.
After you got to the hospital.
Next thing, I don't remember anything. It was like, I guess that I was, it was the only things that I remember is being sick the night and then going to sleep and then remembering them say these words saying, hurry, she's coming back. That's the only thing I can remember.
That's what you remember. And then tell me a little bit more about your grandmother. What was she like?
Okay, hold on.
You see what I'm saying? Okay, hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
Tell me a little bit more about seeing your grandma. What was she like?
Well, she was, she looked the way that she looked before she died, and she was smiling at me, and she looked really pretty, and she was just frozen. She wasn't talking, but
she didn't talk.
Yeah, she wouldn't talk, and she was just still. And
how weird is that? I mean, kind of like we saw like a brief discussion about it in the first video. This is the full one, and she's continuing to say that grandma was frozen with a smile. It really has that vibe of like a frozen pixel grandma, maybe. I don't know. Like I feel like this is just there's nothing there. It's just an image. Okay, the Matrix may think, oh well, it's a child. It doesn't take much. But it makes you wonder how does a child who has an NDE, they leave their body, okay, and they shouldn't necessarily have a child line of thinking. You would think that it would kind of revert back to the spirit, but I think that's where that Matrix connection still kind of is, I mean, that's just kind of my feeling. I can't say for certain, but maybe there's like some connection to the Matrix still, or at least the Earth body, the physical body, and it's able to kind of keep that child, the ignorance of a child, the fresh, just got here, you're new, and that maybe carries over into the near-death experience, because if the Matrix knows that she's not gonna truly die, then maybe it's able to keep its hooks in her until either she stands up for herself in a sovereign direction, or I don't know. I mean that's the only thing, or it's just part of the connection there. So I don't know. Just throwing it out there.
Smiling at me, and she looked really pretty, and she was just frozen. She wasn't talking, but
she didn't talk.
Yeah, she wouldn't talk, and she was just still. And
can you draw me a picture of your grandma? Could you draw me a picture of what that looked like? Why don't you draw me a picture and tell me more about it? Here, I'll get you all these great colors here. Okay, I'll let you.
Okay, we're rolling.
She was the very first.
Go ahead.
Now, was she in the same room with you then? Was she in your hospital room where these people were going to get things? And
well, it was like they were saying
yeah. Okay.
They were like, the only thing I remember is that like they were saying that they need to get stuff, and then like a second later I was in this whitish, it was white but bright room, and my grandma was sitting there, and it was clouds all around it, and it was white, and it was a different room.
It was a different room.
Mm-hmm.
That was a different room than the room that you were in.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get to that room?
I don't know. It was just like 1 minute I was in the hospital room, and then another second or minute I was in this place that was all white, and it was really bright, and
white light, it's bright.
It was hard to see, but I saw my grandma's just
hard to see. Remember, they always say in these NDE'S, that, you know, is brighter than the sun, but I can look at it, you know, it's the brightest thing.
Second or minute, I was in this place that was all white, and it was really bright, and it was hard to see, but I saw my grandma's just standing there, sitting there really happily.
So how did you feel when you saw her?
I was sort of scared because, you know, I didn't know where I was going, but I was happy to see her because she had died, passed away a long time ago, but I was really happy to see her.
You were happy to see her. Okay, well, I'll let you go on with your drawing. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Okay, so this is the chair, and it was like another room. So I can do that. Your grandmother then?
You want to say that over? Thanks.
So was this your favorite grandmother?
She was the grandmother. See, she used to babysit us, and so I saw her more than my other grandma. So my other grandma lives in Arizona, and I hardly ever see her. I see her like every summer.
Like every summer?
Well, every 4 summers, I guess. I only saw her once.
And where did you think you were in this room? Where did you think that room was?
Where I was at all. I don't know. I guess it was like just a half point to heaven, I guess. I don't know. It was just this place that I had.
Interesting to hear her use those words, right? Because we often hear that it's like a way station. It's a middle point between Earth and the full-on astral, okay? And she's saying it's a point between that and heaven. Here.
That room was.
Where I was at all. I don't know. I guess it was like just a half point to heaven, I guess. I don't.
Half point to heaven, I guess.
No, it was just this place that I had seen my grandma, and I knew that she had passed away, so I guess that I was sort of in heaven, or I didn't know where I was or what I was doing.
Or what you were doing there, yeah.
But I wanted to know.
That's what you wanted to know.
Yeah, because I didn't know where I was or anything. It was sort of scary, but it was really happy.
It was really happy, too.
It was a happy time, and it was neat.
How long did it last to be there with your grandmother?
Just a couple seconds. Because, I saw her. And she saw me, and then it was like a second later, I was back in the house.
That over. I'm sorry. Do that. Yeah, somebody. That's me.
You see these clowns? No, just wait a minute. Don't let her just keep her train of thought and keep going. No, let's just keep going back and forth the camera. What a shoddy operation. This was like a major production too. You think they'd have it set up properly. The poor child.
She saw me, and then it was like a second later, I was back in the house.
That over. I'm sorry. Do that. Yeah, somebody. That's me.
Or just hold on. Stop talking.
Yeah, because you know how long they'll take.
I forget what that last question was. But
we were just
how long you saw her.
How long did that last then when you saw your grandmother?
Just like a couple of seconds. Yeah, it was like I was in the room and I saw her, and it was like I was back in the hospital room.
And then you were back in the hospital room.
Yeah, she said a couple seconds, but it's kind of hard to know for certain what she means by that, because time doesn't exist. We hear it all the time in adult NDE'S where, there is no time, and they'll talk about in the life review or just the experience in general that everything just seemed to whiz by. It was really, really quick, and they could have been out for who knows how long. I mean, we've heard even examples of coma NDE'S where they're just gone, and they'll come back and say it felt like it was barely any time at all. Meanwhile, they've been away for, in a coma for weeks and weeks and weeks. But they actually have all the characteristics of a near-death experience, plus, usually like healing, more healing orientated, and just like more experiences that are more detailed and in depth. But when you hear from them, it's like, oh, it didn't seem like any time at all. Like, I just remember, I had this accident, let's say like a motorcycle accident. I was in the hospital. I died. Then they induced a coma. Or I came back and they induced a coma, and then they put me in a coma for 2-3 weeks, and it was barely any time. So it's really difficult to say where, what that means to her, because we're hearing it from her perspective. So
how long you saw her? Mm-hmm. How long did that last then when you saw your grandmother?
Just like a couple of seconds. Yeah, it was like I was in the room and I saw her, and it was like I was back in the hospital room.
And then you were back in the hospital room. Mm-hmm.
It was neat.
Mm-hmm. And
it's Robo Grandma. Ooh.
Then what do you remember about being back in the hospital room?
I remember them saying, hurry and get this, hurry and get that. I think she's going to come back.
Mm-hmm. And then what happened after that?
I don't know.
And then you don't remember? What do you remember? Anything? And then what's the next thing you remember?
And then I remembered. Next thing was in the hospital room. I think it was when my mom was feeding me a popsicle.
When your mom was feeding you that popsicle. Okay.
Yeah.
And your uncle was talking to you. Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's the other thing I didn't remember.
Yeah. Well, that's very interesting. I really want to thank you for sharing that with me.
Welcome.
And there's your grandmother. We haven't seen her face yet, though. Now, what do you think happens to us when we die?
Well, we either go to heaven or we either go to hell, and the good people, they go to heaven.
And who told you that, or where did you learn about, what happens to us when we go to heaven and hell?
A little bit from my parents and my brother, and then a little bit from church. We go there, that talks about that.
What religion are you?
I'm Christian.
And do you go to church all the time, or just every...
Well, almost every time, except for when I sleep in.
Yeah.
There's a little hair.
And what do you think happens to us after we die?
We go to somewhere even better, to heaven, I guess.
To heaven, you guess. Yeah. And who do you think God is?
Very programmed.
He's this person that takes care of us and made us and put us here on earth.
He made us. He put us here on earth. Yeah, I mean, they got to her.
God is.
Well, he's this person that takes care of us and made us and put us here on earth.
Now, do you think that seeing your grandmother made you think differently about any of this?
A little bit. It makes me feel that, if I come close to dying, it won't be as scary, because I know what it's like a little bit, and it's fun to be there. So, yeah, did a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. And gosh, she has a big smile on her face, doesn't she? And you could see her arms and legs. Yeah. And she was smiling, but she couldn't talk to you.
Yeah, she couldn't talk. She was just sitting there. It was like she was frozen. She was just sitting there.
Yeah. Now, did you think that you were dead when this was happening, or did you think you were still alive, or what did you think? Or did you think about it?
I wasn't really thinking about it. I was just sort of happy that I saw my grandma.
Yeah, you were just so happy to see her, you didn't really think of anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I understand being skeptical of anything, and discernment, but, her NDE is not sensational at all. It's not, it's, bottom of the barrel basic, really. It is. I don't find anything wrong with her testimony personally.
I wasn't really thinking about it. I was just sort of happy that I saw my grandma.
Yeah, you were just so happy to see her, you didn't think of anything else.
Yeah, that's the only thing I really could think of.
Yeah.
Up at the mic.
And when did your grandmother die?
She died in like a couple months before.
And what did your mom and dad tell you happened to your grandmother when she died?
That she died and she went to heaven to go live with my grandpa.
Yeah.
Maybe I should get that again. If you don't mind answering that question again.
You hear this guy? I mean, talk about just ruining the flow.
She went to heaven to go live with my grandpa.
Yeah.
Maybe I should get that again. If you don't
Maybe
mind
I should get that
answering
again.
question again. Okay, time out, hold on. Okay, I'm sorry, I want to get you saying that to the doctor.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So tell me what this is around your grandmother.
These are the clouds. It's like my grandma was right there in a wooden chair, and there were clouds around it, and it was bright around. It's like clouds and then a bright light around it.
Yeah. Now, when your grandma died, what did your parents tell you happened to people when they die?
That they go up to live with Jesus and the people that have passed away and that they love.
Now, did they tell you that you would see your grandmother again, or?
No, they didn't say anything about that.
Or have they taught you that when you go to heaven, you'll see people who have already died?
A little bit, yeah.
And when she died, did they tell you that that you could see her someday again, or did they mention that?
They did, yeah, once. I think it was like a week after they said that to me.
But yeah, this is she's dealing with she's battling the religious indoctrination that's been setting in, and her experience. It's difficult. Got to be difficult.
Or did they mention that?
They did, yeah, once. I think it was like a week after they said that to me.
And what did your mom say to you?
She said that, one day when we get old and we all die, that we'll be able to see the people that we love that have passed away some time ago.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is take a quick 5-minute break and be back with the second part, and we will continue. Thank you very much for hanging in there, and I'll see you in a moment. Thank you. Alrighty. Okay. Let's pop back into it. Thank you for your patience. And this is part 2 of her interview, and then we'll get on to the next one. Oh, no sound.
Well, you know what's really silly is that we're only going to be on for 3 minutes. You know what I mean? That's our last right. And the only part they're going to show is us picking our noses anyway. So that's just the way they are.
That's just the way they are.
Well, gosh, I really want to thank you for drawing that picture for me. That is a great picture of your grandmother.
You're welcome.
That's really making me feel pretty good. She has such a big smile on her face. I love her hair. She doesn't have very long hair, huh?
Because she had cancer.
Yeah, it puts a smile on my face because she doesn't look demonic.
I love her hair. She doesn't have very long hair, huh?
Because she had cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So she didn't have that much hair left.
Yeah. Did your mom tell you that it would be then bright and light in heaven?
No, she didn't really tell me like how it would look and stuff like that.
They didn't. What did they tell you heaven would look like?
They didn't really tell me what it would look like. They just said that I'd see my grandma. My mom said that I'd see my grandma and then my grandpa that I never got to meet.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, go ahead. Well, do you have any questions for me? Not really. And is there anything more that you didn't tell me that you want to tell me, or that?
No.
Oh, that's a great picture.
Clouds.
Yeah. It's like a donut. It's almost like she's in a donut. And where were you in relationship to this picture?
I was like over here, just like looking.
Were you in the clouds, or were the clouds around you?
Yeah, they were around her. I just happened to like be out right here, and then she was in the clouds. And I didn't look around where I was. I was just really happy to see her. So
just happy to see her. Yeah.
Okay, so she's on the outside, kind of looking in, which kind of suggests that she didn't go all the way through. There was like this gatekeeper vibe going on. And grandma's frozen, but that's kind of my feeling from it. Because we've seen with a lot of NDE'S from adults that they're someone's guarding the door, so to say. And they'll say, oh well, it's you still have your mission to complete on Earth, you got to go back, or you got to do blah blah blah, the whole song and dance that we go over all the time.
Right here, and then she was in the clouds, and I didn't look around where I was. I was just really happy to see her. So
just happy to see her. Yeah.
So I really looked at her.
And then what happened after that?
I was back in the hospital room.
And did you hear anything when this happened?
When I saw my grandma,
No. But you heard things when you were back in the hospital?
Yeah.
And how did you get back?
I don't know. I was just like, when I was one place and then back in the hospital room.
Yeah.
I didn't know how I got there.
Could you?
I mean, that's her again explaining, she doesn't know the difference between, she doesn't know how to say, Earth, we experience time, and out there is no time. So, it's that kind of, that's when she's responding like that, that's the vibe I'm getting. that she's conveying.
Yeah.
And how did you get back?
I don't know. I was just like, when I was one place and then back in the hospital room.
Yeah.
I didn't know how I got there.
Could you see yourself when you were back in the hospital room?
I saw, well, not really. I saw these people crowding over me.
Tell me more about that.
Okay, hold on.
Hold on. We gotta stop her story.
So, tell me more about that.
Stop her train of thought.
Well, it was like, I was in my room, and I saw my doctor, Dr. Christie. He was with me, and he and some other people were around me, like getting tools and those things that they are round, and they were using those, and they had lots of people, and they were all crowding around me saying, use this and get that, and hurry.
Could you see yourself?
Not really, because they were crowding around me.
Could you see like the top of their heads then, or you could see the top of Dr. Christie's head?
And their backs.
Well, where were you then during this time?
I was just like, I guess I was in this corner of the place, looking down, seeing them there.
Which is another common NDE data point. You know, corner of the room or on top of the ceiling, looking down, etc., etc.
Then, or you could see the top of Dr. Christie's head?
And their backs.
Well, where were you then during this time?
I was just like, I guess I was in this corner of the place, looking down, seeing them there.
Now, did this happen before or after you saw your grandma?
This was after.
This was after you saw your grandma. And then, but your grandma was gone.
Remember, this one, she's coming back.
And then what happened?
Then I saw the people, they said hurry, and she's coming back, and I saw them hurrying, rushing, and then I was just back in the hospital room, and then it was over.
And then it was over.
Everything
That's
was over.
it.
Yeah. Well, gosh, thanks a lot. Boy. Whew. I hope we don't have to do this again, huh?
Right. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. It got bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, were you mad that they only showed the half of your head? No.
I was really mad.
You weren't mad.
I was just looking through it, because on the other side I saw this one and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. There's the one from Life, and then the other one.
Oh, wait, that's the first one. Yeah, and then I have this one.
She was still in ICU.
She was still in ICU. They let you give her a popsicle in ICU?
Yeah. For like the very last day she was there.
Yeah. How many days went by between her arrest and the popsicle?
Okay.
So, tell me again, when did it happen that you fed her the popsicle, her memory of the popsicle?
It was about 5 days after her cardiac arrest.
After her cardiac arrest. And where was she when she has the memory of being fed the popsicle and her uncle was there?
In ICU.
That was still in ICU, though. And where was she when she described earlier feeling sick at home? You know, give me the whole chronology of what happened. She was sick at home.
Well, she really got sick out at the ocean. We went for Easter break.
Okay.
And she was up all night crying, kind of hysterical.
Right.
So we came home the very next morning.
But then her memory of being in her room, when was that?
That was the night before I took her into the doctor.
That was the night before. Okay, so that's her last memories, the night before. And then you took her where?
We went to Dr. German's office, and he ordered an X-ray. I guess that's all. And so I took her in a wheelchair up to get her X-ray done, and by the time we were there, she couldn't stand, and she was screaming, "Mom," like I wasn't there, looking right at me. And then we put her in the hospital, and then pretty soon she didn't know who we were. She just screamed and screamed and screamed.
Then how did she get to Children's?
In a helicopter. They put her in an ambulance first, and they were going to take her up in that, but then they got her liver function test back, and they're the highest ones they've ever seen in someone living. And so they were afraid if they took her in the ambulance, they'd jostle her liver around too much, so they put her in the helicopter. and took her up there.
Now, could you go in the helicopter?
No.
Okay, so you had to
They were
go.
going to let me drive myself. I was in shock. And luckily one of the ambulance people realized it, and he got his supervisor to drive me up there.
Okay.
Because everyone else had already driven up thinking I was going with...
And then when did her heart stop beating?
Okay, April 2nd is the day she went into the coma, and that was on a Tuesday, I think. And it was Thursday night that she had cardiac arrest. I'll never forget it.
Now, was in fact Dr. Christie there during her cardiac arrest?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. So that we just have to look through the records and we'll see.
Yeah,
okay. So and he was there, and so then her next memory of the popsicle was in 5 days after that.
Right.
And what was her total time in coma?
Well, let's see. 7 days then.
It was 7 days. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
right.
She had told us before that she didn't really remember much of what you had told her about when her grandmother died. What do you remember telling her when her grandmother died? What do you remember telling her about? You know, what is death and what happens when we die, etc.
I probably just told her that Grandma has a healthy body again and she's not in pain and she went to heaven.
And what is heaven to you?
I don't have probably as Jesse describes it, I don't have a preconceived notion.
What about your church, though? What do Lutherans believe about heaven?
I don't know.
Have you taught her that heaven is like a bright place or is filled with light?
I've never heard it described or.
Yeah.
I don't have any notion.
And do Lutherans believe that when you die, your dead relatives will come and greet you? Then
I don't think so.
Is that something that she is taught in church or?
No, it's a belief I've always had though. My father died when I was 3, and I always have told myself I'll get to see him again.
Okay, so she's got her set belief system. She doesn't seem. She's got all these belief systems. She's passed them on to her daughter, and in turn, this is what we got.
That she is taught in church or?
No, it's a belief I've always had though. My father died when I was 3, and I always have told myself I'll get to see him again.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever told that to Jesse.
Yeah. Did you see him after he died when you were 3?
I don't remember.
You don't remember, yeah.
Okay. You can ask her something else, maybe.
Well, that's kind of creepy.
And that's hard to...
Well, I don't think we're going to be doing this too much more. So I really thank you for your patience, though, for for these people. But I'm getting kind of tired of it myself. I don't think we're going to be doing this too.
You can ask her something.
Yeah.
Okay. You can ask her something else, maybe.
There's clearly something wrong with the tape
I don't
there.
think we're going to be doing this too much more. So I really thank you for your patience, though, for for these people. But I'm getting kind of tired of it myself. So.
It's a little redundant.
Yeah, so I can't imagine that we'll be doing too much more. And plus, I think
we did when I worked for Dr. Reeves. On his birthday, we went down to Rainier Brewery and got all these R things, for the nurses' caps. And this mom came in. Jane, my friend, forgot she had it on. And then our mother goes, "Oh, I just love when you nurses look so professional."
This is like a VHS rip, so that's why it's so weird. Why the tape sped up, so. That's Grandma. Alright, so that's going to be that one. Now we'll move on to the next NDE. I want to welcome Elvis Presley to the Last Timers Club. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for your kind support. And I don't believe... Let's see, let me scroll up here really quick. Yeah, I wanted to also thank Pale Horse Rider as well. Thank you so much for your kind donation earlier. know I mentioned it in the text chat, but just want to thank you. Okay, so now we're going to pop into the next one, my friends. Okay, what is going on? There we go. Just got to mute it really quick for copyright purposes. Oops. Okay. All right, here we go. Now, this is the one where the audio is not so good. So, yeah, Elvis has left the building. Elvis has left the building. Hey, 432 Hertz. Good to see you. I hope you're doing well. All right. Here we go.
Oh, okay. You don't want me to hear any of the bad stuff, Is that what you're... You got it.
Okay, he just plays keyboard a little bit for the beginning. Let me skip past that. There we go.
When did you first hear that music?
When I was about to go through the tunnel.
Through the tunnel? And what was the tunnel?
It was like a huge noodle or something.
Well, tell me everything you remember, though. You said that the last thing you remember was trying to get your seatbelt unbuckled. And what happened after that?
Well, but I do know that then I did see the water filling up. So, but when the car was completely filled with water, there was nothing else. It was like blank, and it started coming toward this huge tunnel.
And what was that like?
Well, it felt pretty neat, because it felt like I was floating through the air. I was floating through the air and then going through the huge noodle.
How did you know it was a huge noodle?
Well, it's not... Well, when I told it to my mom, I said it was a huge noodle because that's the only thing I could think of it. But now I know that it's really a tunnel.
How do you know that now?
Well, because the huge noodle was just like a tunnel. It went straight, and it didn't have anything in your way. It wasn't like a spiral noodle, so it's either a tunnel or a noodle. And it was a rainbow. I'm thinking noodle for rainbow.
And then what happened after that? How did you get in this noodle?
Well, it was just an empty hole, and I couldn't control where I was floating, so I was like being forced to go through the noodle probably by wind or something. I didn't have control over where I was floating, so I kept floating along into the huge noodle, and then I did have a chance to choose which smaller tunnel I wanted to go into. That's the only thing I could choose.
And how could you choose that?
I don't know how and not be able to choose all the other things, but by then I was able to like float in the air by like swimming.
All right, so he doesn't know how he was able to choose. So makes you wonder on this one if, you know, what he perceives to be the almost like a split in the road, a split in the tunnel. One side of the tunnel leads to the adult, or as he said, human, I guess, afterlife. And then the other one is for animals. But he's kind of implying that he wasn't sure how that happened. So just throwing this out there. I'm not saying there's anything behind it whatsoever. So just take this with a grain of salt and make of it what you will. I would think that you're going to want to send, if you're running this matrix, again, always try to put once you have the base concept of the soul trap and what's going on here, you try to imagine yourself in the, as if you're one of the parasites running this place. And that makes it a lot easier to kind of come up with some things and fill in the gaps in certain areas. But, of course, we have our data points and our patterns. Those things are not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about an area where we really can't say with any certainty, but we're just going to speculate. So if you're running the matrix and you have a child who's going to have a near-death experience, then, send them to the animal one, or the one with the big flower and the bee, and it's all nice. It's more on the level of a child than, let's say, the one that may be for adults. Or it's exactly as he says, where it's, it's almost like a fork in the road, where one is for humans and one is for animals and plants. So again, make of it what you will.
Thing I could choose.
And how could you choose that?
I don't know how I'd not be able to choose all the other things, but by then I was able to float in the air by swimming in the air. I could do that and it would bring me forward. Mm-hmm. And then once I got into the tunnel, the wind took over me and bring me right through again.
And what happened after that?
Do you remember? Haven't I already told you?
I remember about the bumblebee. But I guess the part I was confused about is then how did you get back in your body when you said something was zapped?
What do you mean by that? Well, it's like I was disappeared out of that land and then going into the human event.
Okay, so he went from being in the animal land or animal afterlife to the human land, or realm, the earth realm. So it's very similar to what we see in other NDEs, where they are, they're right at the end of their NDE and they're told, okay, well, you've got to go back to help this one, or you got to fulfill your mission, and before you know it, something happens, and it's like, boom, they're right back on Earth. So, very similar. He's just saying, yeah, I just all of a sudden, went from one realm to the other. Went from, the astral, or the way station, to the Earth realm.
That land. And then going into the human event. And it's like I disappear there and then I reappear outside. Mm-hmm. So I have a chance to again, so I chose the other one. And that was human heaven.
What's human heaven like?
Well, it's not really like the human heaven part. I do kind of like it, but I do have an idea of what it is, because I had that picture in my mind then. Mm-hmm. It's like on top of a cloud, and you have gates, some gates. It's made out of gold, copper, and silver stuff. And then when you go through the gates, there's a cement walkway with a fountain in it, and it goes around the fountain with two walkways. And other than that, there's a garden around, and then you go into like a golden castle. And that's it.
There's a golden castle?
Yeah. Pretty bright gold.
Do you think, what should we do about the phone? Should we get the phone, or? Just shouldn't get it, okay. Curious about that, when you were talking about that castle, what that was like.
Well, I wasn't able to go inside. I don't have any vision of what was inside.
So it was a golden castle, what that was like.
Well, I wasn't able to go inside.
I wasn't able to go inside.
Curious about that, when you were talking about that castle, what that was like.
Well, I wasn't able to go inside. I don't have any vision of what was inside.
So it was a golden castle?
Yeah, it was golden. It was like any old regular castle. It had towers, but it wasn't run down.
Alright, so it looked nice, wasn't run down, it was big. You know, we've seen and talked about the kind of megalithic or bigger, more intimidating, should I say, buildings or entities in other cases, where it's, you know, it's overwhelming and intimidating. You know, it doesn't seem to bother him, but I'm just saying that's the perception that continually comes across. It's this intimidation factor, megalomaniac type architecture and entities, just always, or not always, but a lot.
Castle?
Yeah, it was golden. It was like any old regular castle. It had towers, but it wasn't run down.
And how did you, I mean, why couldn't you go in it? Or what happened then?
I wasn't able to go in it. A picture of that was in my mind.
I see. Could you...
Picture was in his mind. Picture was in his mind. So, you know, make of it what you will, but this, everything that's going on, even though it's an illusion, it has real life or real spirit consequences for everybody who decides to, you know, even reach this point.
I wasn't able to go in it. A picture of that was in my mind.
I see. Could you explain that to me again? Because that's an important part, and I'm not sure I understand that.
You mean what?
About the picture in your mind.
Well, can't you make pictures in your mind? You just think them and you can think of the picture?
Yes, I can.
That picture in my mind.
I see. Of what it was like.
Yeah.
But you're not sure that you saw that, but that's the picture in your mind of it? Or
The picture in my mind.
Did you have this picture while you were in the noodle, or did you have this picture now thinking about what happened in the noodle?
No, I had the picture when you asked me. I know I had the picture when I was like in the human heaven in an ambulance, like right at the scene of my mom's mother's death.
Okay, that's a big point right there. So let's just rewind it and listen to it again.
The picture in my mind.
Did you have...
I had the picture in my mind, so that's, you know, he's outside his body still, and it's like a telepathic type transmission.
This picture while you were in the noodle, or did you have this picture now thinking about what happened in the noodle?
No, I had the picture when you asked me. I know I had the picture when I was like in the human heaven.
I was in the human heaven when I had the picture.
In an ambulance.
In an ambulance.
Right at the scene of my mom's mother's death.
So he's having an out-of-body experience at this point, even though it is an NDE. It's more along the lines of astral projection OBE.
I know I had the picture when I was like in the human heaven in an ambulance, like right at the scene of my mom's mother's death.
I understand, yes. How did your mom's mother die?
From cancer.
She died from cancer. Did she get taken away in an ambulance for that?
Yeah.
When did that happen?
Well, I don't know, but it was like, it was probably about 1984 when I was born.
Were you present when your grandma was taken away in an ambulance?
No, I never got to meet her.
I understand. So you just...
It's odd that there is a memory there, right? Seems like there's a crossing of experiences. So it's a really fascinating account with how this goes, because it looks like there's even a pre-birth memory, and it's a little bit crossed over. He's kind of, because this is just my guess, okay? Because he had a near-death experience, hadn't met Grandma. Grandma died. The ambulance is present. But he knows of the event. He's aware of it. But from what we heard, hadn't met her. So, very interesting.
From cancer.
She died from cancer. Did she get taken away in an ambulance for that?
Yeah.
When did that happen?
Well, I don't know, but it was like, it was probably about 1984 when I was born.
Were you present when your grandma was taken away in an ambulance?
No, I never got to meet her.
So he never got to meet her.
So you just had an image of your grandma being taken away in an ambulance.
Well, not in the ambulance. I was like there.
You were there.
Yeah, because that was like the human heaven where she was.
I understand. Okay.
Interesting,
and then what
isn't
happened after that?
I mean, it's a really fascinating account, because he's crossing over. The problem is he has experienced both of these, but he's crossing over experiences with a time gap. So it's really interesting stuff.
There.
Yeah, because that was like the human heaven where she was.
I understand. Okay. And then what happened after that?
Well, that was when we were in. Then I noticed that could either be the heaven or the present time.
Yes.
Because that could have been my mom, but I think it was my mother, and it was the same time. We came to my home hospital where I was born, and then I think it's like then it wasn't real.
Yeah.
Not in my experience anymore.
Sorry, guys.
And then I think it's like then it wasn't real.
Yeah.
Not in my experience anymore.
I understand. Yeah, I understand that completely. Now, how did you get back in your body?
Well, I don't know. Because actually, I do know. They did take my body. Because they didn't know I was dead. But they took my body over to the hospital where I could get into it.
I see.
They didn't know he was dead. They brought his body over to the hospital so he can get into it.
They did take my body. Because they didn't know I was dead. But they took my body over to the hospital where I could get into it.
I see.
Makes you wonder what's going on there, right? They took me over. Like, are we dealing with entities helping out in this situation, or are we actually dealing with, like the hospital, like a ride, like an ambulance ride, or, kind of in between with that a little bit, I guess. What are your guys' opinion on that one?
They did take my body. Because they didn't know I was dead. But they took my body over to the hospital.
They didn't know I was dead. If they didn't know he was dead, then, what kind of operations going on here for them not to know? If there's medical people involved, like an ambulance or whatever the case may be, then again, there's a disconnect. It seems more along the lines of entities. Just, I guess, right now.
They did take my body. Because they didn't know I was dead. But they took my body over to the hospital where I could get into it.
I see.
So he can get into it. Heal. You know, they helped him heal.
Thank you very much. Boy, that's hard to talk about, huh? Okay, what was its title again?
What do you mean?
You might want to turn up the volume a little bit for this part, guys. The mic levels kind of suck, and you know, the interviewer, the researcher, is gonna sound a little loud when he speaks. But just so you guys know, I'll rewind it just a little bit so you got some time to raise your volume.
Talk about, huh? Okay, what was its title again?
What do you mean?
You told me that it had a name.
The noodle?
That your picture had a name.
This? No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood. But can you tell me about that picture?
Oh, this is a picture of the huge noodle I came in. On this it says, like, community built. I used that for little niches. So it's just like cut these things off and you have the entrance to my noodle. And this other one I did start coloring, but I couldn't finish. So this was good enough.
Yeah, that's good enough, you think. I agree.
Well, I saw like the same things you can see in there.
Okay.
And stuff.
And then, did anything else happen when you were near the flowers?
No.
No?
And I couldn't see anything but flowers, but there was a fog around me.
Oh, there was a fog around?
Yeah. All I could see was the flowers.
Okay, but you couldn't see, like, beyond the flowers because of the fog? Is that
When you were beyond.
Okay.
No, I couldn't see beyond.
Yeah, you just saw the flowers and then there was fog around. Okay.
So he saw the flowers around during the experience, but a lot of fog.
Okay.
No, I couldn't see beyond.
Yeah, you just saw the
Couldn't
flowers
see.
and then there was fog around. Okay.
Not a clear picture, basically.
Okay. See if I have any questions about that. Now, it was in the animal, the flowers were in the animal heaven, right?
Yeah.
And the, you just heard the music.
Yeah.
Yeah. The flowers were in the animal heaven, right?
Yeah.
The flowers were in the animal heaven.
And the, you just heard the music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he heard music.
I think I understand.
Well, what do you say? Should I videotape Cindy then when she tells us about her experience? You think that's a fair bargain?
Yeah.
Is that all right if could I hear your experience as well?
All right, so that's gonna wrap up the segment of those two, but I have a short bonus clip I'm gonna throw up here before we close things out for the night. Now, this is I'm not gonna play the full NDE, but it explains a good chunk of it. I think it's a 12-year-old girl. She has she had a near-death experience, but she also has migraines. She has like a migraine every couple months or something like that, and she describes the difference because there's a and I like where the researcher's going with this because, well, I'll hold off. I'll let you see what happens at the end, just to give you the full experience here. So here we go.
shadowing herself.
How old are you?
12.
You're 12 years old. And where do you go to school?
Leota Junior High.
You go to Leota Junior High?
Yeah.
You're in 7th grade?
Yep.
Now, what are you getting, all D's and F's? Are you practically flunking out?
No, I got mostly A's and a couple B's.
Mostly A's and a couple B's. Wow. And tell me what happened to you. What do you remember about your experience?
Do you want me to tell you?
I want you to tell me everything. Everything from the beginning to the end. Everything you can remember.
Okay. What my dream was I could see myself lying in bed, all curled up. I could see my bed and just kind of, just things around my bed. And I could just see myself lying there. And I looked awful because I had and then...
You could actually see yourself? Mm-hmm. Could you see, like, the top of your head, or...?
No, I was looking down on myself. I was looking down at myself. And then...
Could you see other things around the room?
Just... You know how you look down and you can kind of see. So I kind of saw some of the end table where you put your stuff, and I kind of saw. I saw the bedposts and I saw things around me, but
how
just
about
around.
The floor?
I don't really remember the. No, I don't think I saw the floor. And then I went back. Then I was like in my body. I was in my body, and then my spirit or something just went. And it like vacuumed out, and then I was like free, And
it vacuumed out, and then I was free. And she used the word spirit. I like the whole explanation of this. And she, at the beginning, you notice she calls it a dream. She calls it a dream.
And then my spirit or something just went, and it like vacuumed out, and then I was like free, and I was all, relaxed and light, and I was feeling good.
So she feels better, just like everyone else who has an NDE and leaves their body with astral projection or even lucid dreaming. When there's that disconnect there, it's a weightlessness, and you feel more along the lines of your true spirit essence.
And I was feeling good and feeling better than I've ever felt.
Better than I've ever felt.
And then I floated up to the top of the room, like really fast, And then I looked down at myself, and I saw myself, in the bed again, and being all miserable and everything. And then suddenly I was like, zoom, at the end of the tunnel, at the black tunnel. And then I was in this bright light. And
so she zoomed into the black tunnel towards the white light, like everybody else.
The black tunnel. And then I was in this bright light. And in the light, I had, the light was all around me, except in the very back. In the back was black because of the tunnel. I was just halfway, like in between. And then there was over to the right, I guess, just kind of in front to the right, was the blue, bright blue, brighter than blue here. It was brighter. And it was blue, and I just knew that was a stream. And then there was a blotch of green, and I knew that was a grass. Okay, well, I had a migraine headache, so I was going to take a nap and try to get rid of it.
How long have you had migraine headaches before?
For about 2 years.
And how many headaches have you had in those 2 years, would you guess?
I have about one migraine headache every 2 to 3 months.
Every 2 to 3 months you have a migraine headache?
Yeah.
And what's like a regular migraine headache like?
Well, my vision, I can only see so much, and sometimes gives a little. So my vision goes like that, and then when my vision stops, I start getting nauseous. And then while I'm nauseous, I'll get the migraine headache well, I'm nauseous, so that's kind of tied in together. And then that's a migraine headache for me.
Tell me more about your vision. What do you mean by that, your vision?
Well, I can't see to the sides of my eyes. I can't see anything to the sides.
What is to the sides?
Well, if I look forward, you can kind of see off to the side. You can kind of see some books, or you can kind of see something. Well, I can't see that. I'll just go like this, and
Is it dark off to the side, though?
No, it's kind of like a flashy white.
It's like a flashy white off to the side. And what is it that you see out the front, then?
Just regular stuff, or sometimes it'll flash a white and on and off. I mean, I can still see, but it'll flash once and then.
And that flashing light, what's that like? What's that light like?
Kind of a dark light. It's just kind of a white light, and it'll go on and off once or twice.
Does it make you feel any one way or another?
I feel like I can't concentrate, and I can't see I can't see details. I can see the room, but I can't see details like.
Have you ever thought that light was God?
No.
Did you ever or does that light make you feel really happy or really peaceful?
No.
So you could obviously see the differences between the migraine she experiences versus her NDE that she described in the beginning, and she's going to get more into the NDE. So you just have to chug through the migraine part, but there's a point to all this at the end, mostly for the skeptics and uneducated.
It makes me feel
and I mean the mainstream, not you guys, obviously.
Peaceful?
No. It makes me feel, I kind of feel like, oh, my visions, and then I realize it's starting a migraine headache, and then I start feeling worse and worse as it goes along, and then I...
Okay, I interrupted your story. Now on to your, okay.
And so
you saw at that end of that tunnel, was that the same light that sometimes you see during your migraine headaches?
No, I didn't think so. I thought it was brighter than my light than I see when I flash.
And did it seem different to you, though? Did it, was there anything different about that light?
Oh, yeah. There. It was just brighter. It was brighter. It was lighter. And it was brighter, and it was more warm feeling and peacefulness feeling than, that was just a light. Like the lights you see today. It was just a light. And then the light up there was like a peaceful light, a warm light, kept you warm. How sometimes you're cold or sometimes you're too hot. It kept you at the right temperature, and it was peaceful.
Do you mind?
Yeah, it was perfect, which is like all the other NDEs, It's the shedding of the body, and in an environment that is much more peaceful and manageable and easy to deal with.
How sometimes you're cold or sometimes you're too hot. It kept you at the right temperature, and it was peaceful.
Do you mind telling me that again? Because I got a little confused. The light, tell me what the light that you see from the flashing of your eyes is like, and then tell me what the light that you saw at the end of that tunnel was like.
Okay, when my eyes flash, that light is...
The light with your migraine.
The light with my migraine is just a normal, darkened kind of light. It's just a light, just nothing there, just a light that you turn on or whatever. And then the light up there was a light that was bright and warm and peaceful, and you were secure, you just...
What about the temperature, though? You were saying something about...
Yeah, it was just perfect. You were just perfect. You weren't too cold, you weren't too hot.
Just perfect.
You were warm, you were just fine, You felt great, just kind of...
Yeah, I understand. All right, now the picture.
found this interesting. She concludes by telling us that dying is, for her, is simply not coming back from the place of the white light. Oops.
Where were you when you were looking at yourself? That's what I guess I still don't get.
I was... You mean at first? Or
yeah, when you looked at your own body.
I just, like kind of a TV zooms in, and zooms out, and I could just see my body laying in the covers in the puff, where your body's laying.
But were you like on the floor or the ceiling or the walls?
Nowhere.
Or you
it was just I could see, I just. But when then my spirit came out, and then I could see my body, and my spirit was at the top, and so I knew I was. Yeah.
But the first time, tell me again where you thought you were.
I didn't.
That's when you said you were nowhere, or that.
Yeah, I was just in. No, I just could see myself.
You could just see yourself, yeah. Now, what do you mean by a spirit? What's that mean, a spirit?
It's just you, I guess. I guess your spirit's in your body. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It was just a part of me, I guess, that just lifted out. It was me, and this is just, I guess, a body or something.
I guess it's just a body or something, right? I mean, it's just this,
part of me, I guess, that just lifted out.
Part of this Earth experience.
Me, and this is just, I guess, a body or something.
What religion are you?
I don't have a religion, really.
Yeah. And do you guys ever go to church or anything like that?
No, but my friend once took me, or my neighbor once took me or something. I've only gone to church twice or 3 times or something.
And what is God?
He's... My religion, I don't have a religion because my parents say that I guess we can pick our own religion, but I believe in God and I believe in Jesus.
What is God? Or who is Jesus?
I've always pictured him as, he's not ruler, but he's kind of head of heaven or something. I don't know. And he's I think the father of Jesus or something like that.
Yeah. And then what happens when we die, do you think?
I think that I always thought that we'd go to heaven and then our body just gets buried in the ground or whatever you decide to do with your body. But since I've had that dream, I think you go through that again and then you just stay out there, I guess, instead of going back.
Okay, so I guess you just stay there unless you go back. And I have heard neurologists say that the white light and tunnel of the near-death experience are simply tricks of the back of the eye, similar to the visual changes of a migraine. Are they right? You decide. So yeah, I like how that was part of the segment for him, to kind of just shut down the materialists. Okay. I was going to do a separate video on this, but Alex does come up a lot. I'll just say this really quickly. Alex has his own thing going on, and he's had it going on for quite a while. Back, I think, around 2016, I went through a lot of his content, and he has his own thing going on, and that's aliens. It's all alien stuff. He makes a lot of claims, a lot of ridiculous things, and because he has his own operation going on, that he'll talk about things, hot button issues, or truth, spiritual topics that are like keywords, and he'll talk about them as a way to funnel people into his main gig, which is the whole alien thing. So make of that what you will. I moved long past him a while ago, and yeah. So again, you know, it's good that, in my opinion, anyone's talking about it. But as far as value for anything else, really, no. He's that's just my opinion. You know, I'm not trying to crap on anything, but I'd rather just be honest, because there's just a few names that pop up a lot, and I've never really said much on them, and some other names that pop up regularly that I'll just leave alone for now. But I just think it's important for everyone to keep their eye on the prize. You know, all the alien stuff, the channeling stuff, the, you know, secret communications, or all this stuff is just, you're gonna kind of just, at least in my opinion, what happened to me is I got lost. You know, Alex is a very good talker, and there's a lot of other ones out there that do the same thing. So you just got to be careful. Keeping your eye on the prize is kind of, you know, through the experiencer stuff. I mean, that's what I recommend everyone kind of do out there for themselves, to continue to prove it to themselves. You know, you check out a few of my videos once in a while, cool, but everyone can kind of go out and do their own research. Yeah, active research. I didn't mean anything by it, my friend. I just want to put it out there, because everyone comes in in different areas, and they're exploring different things, and I just kind of at the point where I don't really, if I can't identify something and make a pattern of it, and I'm not relying on something like channeled information or alien contact or stuff. I mean, all that stuff is just, it's a big industry. There's a lot of money behind it. He does well for himself, and good for him. But I'm just kind of all about putting out interesting NDE'S or astral projections or breakthrough trip reports or past life regressions, pre-birth memories, all that type of stuff, because it all kind of shows the big thing that's going on here. And the good thing is everyone can do it. That's the awesome part, is that it doesn't take me or anyone else to do it, because everyone can go out there and just plow through these things and hear all the alarm bells, and then the patterns just show up time and time again, and that's where, like, at least there's some reliability. There's actually a lot of reliability in it, but yeah, but the whole alien thing, there's a big industry behind it, and Alex has been around a long time, so that's all. So yeah, nothing personal whatsoever. Just wanted to respond to that, because because he's brought up a lot. That's all. Alrighty, so throw on a little bit of tunage and. Okay. Alrighty, so Eli. ARX and Deaner X says, I appreciate what you do, FC. Thank you. Yeah, active research says, I'm actually surprised he mentions that much. Yeah, but you know where the problem is with what he says, just in my opinion. The way I see it, anyone putting it out there, we can use all the help we can get on this topic. So anyone talking about it, if it gets just even one person going out and looking on their own, that's all that matters. So That's how I look at it. But the problem is just like everything else in the Matrix, there's all these distractions everywhere, just waiting for us to eat them up. And there's a lot of stuff there on all different topics, especially the alien stuff. And yeah, Alex is good at what he does. Very good at what he does. Very convincing. So yeah, I mean, someone could hear that and do a soul trap search, or start going through forums or videos, and then kind of start to run across some important information. But Alex kind of frames it like, like the aliens are telling me. I mean, he talks about how I remember, I think it was last year or the year before, someone sent me a video and he was talking about how, the aliens were on pause. Okay, the bad aliens are on pause, everyone. I've just got this communication in, and the bad aliens are on pause. So, woohoo Earth, everything's gonna be good. And that's just one little thing of many. I'm sorry, I really should keep my mouth shut. I try not to do this type of stuff, so I'll just leave it at that. No, it's good to see you, brother. I hope you're doing well. He says, what stood out was when she said, never felt better when out of the body. Coming from a young teenager was profound. Yep. Yeah, it's like a universal thing. It doesn't matter what the age is. They all kind of seem to imply that. Like, well, not all, but a large percentage. It's because the human body isn't our natural organic state. So when you go out, and experience that weightlessness, that no pain, no heavy attachment of the body, no heavy materialism, I think it feels great, especially for like extended periods of time, even though there is no time. So we're not gonna go down that road, but you get what I'm saying. Excuse me, sorry about that. Active Research says, what do you think about breakthrough psychedelic experiences? Is there some artificial weirdness there, you think? Absolutely. Yep, I think there's a lot, actually, in my opinion. Pure Water says, so how do we get out of the Matrix after we've made our own place? No, your intention right away, Pure Water, is to again, I'll go over the steps of what I'm doing, and everyone has to make their own decision for what they feel is best. My personal plan is, the moment I realize I've passed, I will immediately shield myself where nothing can visually or audibly communicate, mess with nothing. I can't see it, I can't hear it. That's my first step. Second step would be to, everything is obviously intention. Next step is, intention of all intentions is to be transferred out of the Matrix completely, out of the whole system completely, into my own realm. And then that realm will be consistent of protection as well. Nothing can infiltrate it, nothing can happen to it. And then I'm just gonna sit back and chill for a while. I'm not gonna have many visual distractions. I personally feel for a while I'll just kind of keep it very dull, if not completely, almost like a void. But it's a void of my own doing, not the Matrix's void, my void. And just allow myself to get my memories back, figure out my strengths, my weaknesses, you know, how far can you go as a creator being, you know, where are we vulnerable, all that type of stuff. So, you know, and after that, I don't know. I mean, it's nobody knows. All I know is that, you know, no attachments, no interaction, no listening to them, and get out as quickly as possible. Then, you know, the rest is up to us. I don't have any answers past that. Why is it doing this? Now it says to active research, had around 50 breakthroughs on DMT. I would say it certainly feels like home, a spiritual comfort, powerful, but it's still a virtual matrix. I still keep it on the table. Okay. I kind of look at, it's really tough to say, but I kind of look at things as if there are visual distractions that it has the opportunity to kind of suck us back in or possibly get in trouble. I don't know. I'm where things can end up like this, where we ended up here. So that's why I think something like a very, very mellow void state. You know, I've talked before about maybe just having a little bit of grass or something, but even that, I don't know. I mean, you know, what's the power of, you know, bringing grass in, and could it, I mean, again, we're so in the dark about our abilities, how far they go, the strengths and weaknesses. I mean, I could, you know, say the same thing over and over. It's just better to be safe. 432 Hertz says, it feels like we have to find the right portal out and not get sucked into our beliefs, which hold us back on the other side. Yep. Well, beliefs, attachments, overcharged emotions. Just keep that intention set. That's all. Just keep that intention set. You know, I think everyone's going to be just fine. So those who truly have the intention and think about this stuff, look into this stuff. That's why I kind of tell people, you know, it's important that you prove it to yourself, because what does that in turn do? It keeps that intention fiery, to the point where you have that inner knowing. Once you have that inner knowing and you go with the sovereign and liberated path, it seems that nothing can really mess with you at that point. You're all set and should be good when you leave, but just make sure that intention is clear. You know, repeat it to yourself. You know, I'm thinking about it a lot. I don't let it ruin my life or run my life, but I think about it regularly. So my intention's always out there. You know, sovereignty and liberation, non-interference, my own realm, layers of protection. I mean, it's just like that. Bill Horse Rider says, I'm doing okay in life. It could be better and worse, but come on, this is a rigid, fluid reality. The beast matrix runs this place. Satan is God here. It is a crazy place. Gonna have an army school. Jenny says, I decide when I'm out. Alrighty. Oh, this isn't working right. Alright, my friends, gonna call it a night. It's been fun. Thank you very much. And I will see you. Probably Saturday is going to be the next show. I have Wayne Bush coming on the 12th. So that's Saturday, February 12th. I believe sometime between 4 and 4:30. If you check the description tab of this stream, all the dates are there. And also have Dan from the Overwatch channel coming either Sunday the 13th or the 20th. I keep mixing up the dates, so I'm going to check in with him and then I'll have a firm date and time for that. So thank you again so much. Much love and blessings. Stay safe out there. Thank you, Elvis. Appreciate it. That's right. No reincarcerations. Damn right. Good night, everybody.